Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria, and welcome to my most anticipated books of 2025. So I have picked out 30, which is such a nice round number. I actually made like a little separate tab in Goodreads, which I'm finding very helpful. If somebody knows how to do this in Storygraph, let me know. But I made a little tab in Goodreads for this list, so I feel like so prepared. Yeah, anyway, so I do have a pretty set TBR for a good portion of this year. If you checked out my setup of my reading journal, you will know that I am going to be indulging in the buzzword reading challenge this year, which I have like all laid out here. I love it. And I'm also going to be participating in Erin's from Booked and Busy's Middle-earth read-along. In addition to that, in January, I am going to be participating in the Winterween by Gabby Reads. And then I do also have 3 book clubs that I'm currently a part of, that I'm actively participating in, including my own, the Solstice Reads book club, which you can join if you'd like. I'm trying to pick out books that relate to each month because I want to embrace the season. I feel like that's important. So there is quite a bit already going on, but these are some new releases that I am interested in. And I think 30 is such a great number. This spans the myriad of the year. So there will probably be more, but let's go ahead and jump in to my most anticipated new releases in 2025. The first one I am going to highlight here is Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambao. This is actually the Illumicrate book, the adult Illumicrate book for January, which I'm pissed off about because I canceled my Illumicrate right before this happened. But it is set to come out January 14th-ish. And it is about a woman who inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. It also works for one of my cover challenges for the Buzzword Book Cover Challenge for 2025, and that's February with a skyline. There is a nice skyline in the water, if you see, of like a city. I don't know, it sounds super cute. I'm excited to read it. I hope it is good and lives up to the hype that I have it in my head. Super cute. The next book, I'm going in order by books that I placed on my Goodreads list and not necessarily about like when they are getting released. So please forgive me for that. We're trying to be as organized as possible. But the next book on my list that I am looking forward to, which doesn't have a cover, so I'm not going to put it up here. Maybe I'll put The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi here, just so you know. But as I said, this is the second in the series of The Adventure of Amina Al-Sarafi. It's untitled. I know S.A. Chakraborty on her Instagram page has posted that she's diligently working away, but it's set to be released in September of 2025, possibly September 25th. Who knows, but we don't even have a cover yet. I'm so excited. It's my favorite book of 2024, so obviously I can't wait to read the next one. Okay, so this next book was, I believe I found it on the big books of 2025 list that Goodreads has, and this is The Original Daughter by Gemma Way. It's expected to come out in May of 2025, and it's a debut novel, which is good to note because I was struggling with that earlier when I was doing my reading survey. But it's a debut novel, and it apparently explores the formation and dissolution of family bonds in a story of ambition and sisterhood in the turn of the millennium Singapore. I don't know, it sounded interesting. I usually like these kind of books. It was kind of giving me similar vibes to like Salt House and The Lying Moon of Tehran, where it's a historical fiction, kind of literary fiction. We're going to use these characters to also talk about a time period in a certain place, and I like those kind of books. So it seemed like it was right up my alley, so I went ahead and threw it on this list. Plus, like I said, it's a debut, so I want to check it out, see if I like it. The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong is another book that I believe I found on the Big Books of 2025 from Goodreads, and this is also expected in May of 2025. And reads, Ocean Vuong returns with a big-hearted novel about chosen family, unexpected friendships, and the stories we tell ourselves in order to survive. So this is in Gladness, Connecticut. Is that a real place? Where we have 19-year-old Hai, and she is ready to jump off a bridge, seems. So, and then an elderly woman, yes, that's right, I know I picked this book. So it's about like a young woman and an older woman, an elderly woman who apparently has dementia, forming a bond. And I love that. And that told me. I didn't even know she had dementia, but I would think that was just like in the synopsis of like an elderly woman and a young woman forming a bond, and I just love that. So yeah, that is essentially why I chose this one, and I really didn't need anything else to know that I was gonna like this one. This is really like lit fic, contemporary fiction, so a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm interested to pick it up, and I hope I like it. Okay, next one is... Oh, yeah, see, this one was kind of like an iffy one, but I'm glad I put it on here because a nice round 30 is good. But this is Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, and Ruth Holbert, who's the illustrator. Ooh, they put the illustrator in there, so that makes me excited. I feel like I'm gonna need a tangible copy. So it's a Beauty and a Beast reimagining, and I don't know, it seems kind of cozy in a way, like a little bit of like a fantasy lit fic, if you know, like they put like magical realism, but I do think there's like an element of, there's a certain genre of fantasy that is like fantasy lit fic, and this is giving me fantasy lit fic, and I want to try more of those because lit fic isn't really always my thing, even though we just talked about one, but I want to read more, and I think some of these fantasy lit fics are a little bit more my speed. I think like The Foxwife, when I think of something like that, like The Foxwife I would consider something that's kind of fantasy lit fic, has that kind of writing style, but still has those fantasy elements that keep me intrigued and keep me keep me wanting to read it. The next book on our list is kind of funny because I haven't read the first one, but I'm excited for the second one. But I did just get a notification from the library that this book, in the first book in the series, is available for me to pick up. So hopefully about time this comes out in April of this year, I will have already read it and be excited for it because I feel like I'm gonna like it. And what I'm talking about is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is the second book in the Shadow of Leviathan series, or it's the follow-up to The Tainted Cup. And I have seen so many people who I love here on BookTube and just in general talk about The Tainted Cup, and it sounds like something I would really like. And I've been putting off reading it, but now I have it. Oh, I need to add that to my list. Maybe that will be my book I read in the dark for Winterween. That puts me at around 10 for books, which is a lot, but that's okay. Anywho, so yes, this is the second book of the series. I'm actually not going to read anything because I don't want to ruin it for me, but I want to read it. I haven't read the first one, but I want to read it. I just really feel like this is going to be a series that I really like. Just seems right up my alley. So, yes, that's all I have for you. And if you don't know The Tainted Cup, I guess, I feel like everyone does because we've talked about it, like BookTube has talked about it ad nauseum, but The Tainted Cup is a dark academia, fantasy, Sherlock Holmesy kind of vibe, is what I gather. Which, again, sounds right up my alley. This one actually comes out pretty soon. All the Water in the World by Erin Caffall. And it comes out January 7th of 2025, so it comes out next week. And it is about, it's a post-apocalyptic kind of sci-fi dystopian. They created a settlement on the top of the American Museum of Natural History, and they are trying to preserve the museum and also use it to help them as much as I can, and trying to keep these records in this dystopian world. And I like that because I love a disaster flick and I love a dystopian flick, but it makes me sad as someone who loves art and books and things like that to see those things be destroyed, even though I know they're not more important than the people. But like there is also power in words and in art, and so it always makes me sad to see that happen. So I feel like this will resonate with me, and that is why I chose it, solely on that. It's probably the least highest rated currently, but maybe that's because more arcs are out right now since it's coming. We'll see. I think I'll like it. And I'm trying to get a little more sci-fi because I didn't have a lot of sci-fi last year, so I'm trying to like add in a little more sci-fi to my reading this year. Hamayang Luck by Makayana Yamamoto is one that I've seen on a couple different lists, and I don't know, it might just be the cover, realistically, of why I put this on my most anticipated new releases for 2025. But I don't know, we've got Betrayal. It's described as Ocean's 8 meets Blade Runner, and it's science fiction. It takes place in Hawaii, and it sounds interesting. Like, I think that's really, besides the cover, like the Ocean's 8 meets Blade Runner, sounded like an interesting combination to me, and so I decided that I wanted to check it out. This also comes out in January, so I'm interested to see what some of the other girlies like. But again, this is another one that's considered science fiction, and I want to add more science fiction this year. I want to see it on my chart. I want there to be more. So hopefully this will be up my alley. Okay, switching gears here, I believe, to a horror thriller. We have Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veal, and it says, for fans of Jordan Peele's films Stranger Things and The Other Black Girl, Listen to Your Sister is a laugh out loud, deeply terrifying, and big-hearted speculative horror novel from, and it's a debut, I don't think I even read anything more than that, but I do like Jordan Peele's movies, Stranger Things. I haven't read The Other Black Girl. I believe it's a book. And Listen to Your Sister, but just the movies and shows sound interesting. I like the cover a lot. This is set to publish February 4th of 2025. And I didn't have any horrors on here, and I'm liking, again, I'm trying to diversify my genres, and it sounded like something I might be interested in. Another horror, so I do think that this was on the Goodreads list. This is Unworthy by Augustina Basseterica, and it's a translated work. This is from the author of Tender is the Flesh, which I know a lot of the horror girlies really like. So I was curious to pick this up, even though I haven't read Tender is the Flesh. But something about the cover on here really attracted my attention. It is giving a little bit of religious horror, which I know isn't everybody's favorite, but it's as the very bottom synopsis says, this is a searing dystopian tale about climate crisis, ideological extremism, and the tidal pool of our most violent, exploitive instincts. And that seemed interesting to me. I want to see how they blend all this with this kind of like religious horror that seems to be kind of played out in here as well. So I am interested to check this out. And maybe if I like this one, I will pick up Tender is the Flesh. But this book comes out March 4th of 2025. Now we're moving back into authors I've read and am looking forward to their new releases for this year. I think this is on many of people's most anticipated releases for 2025. It's Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I read Just for the Summer. Oh no, not Just for the Summer. Yes, Just for the Summer. Just for the Summer for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to go ahead and pick up her next one because it does seem that Just for the Summer kind of left those companion novels, so we're moving on to a new group, possibly. We'll see. I'm making assumptions. And this one seems to be, yes, this one seems to be a second chance romance. Maybe? Yes, I think so. I think this one is gonna be a second chance romance. Again, we have a lot of family drama and stuff like that. Abby Jimenez likes to deal with a lot of heavy topics in her romances. So I'm excited to check this out again. I really thought that Just for the Summer had a lot of heart, and Abby Jimenez seems to do her research when she's talking about these topics. So I want to pick this up. I may go back and read her other novels at some point, but I don't know. I'm not sold on this companion kind of thing. I am doing that with the Dream Harbor series with like the Christmas tree farm and everything like that. But I think half of that is because I'm just deciding I like the fact that she does it seasonal, and so I can read them during a season. But they're just like solid 3 stars for me, nothing more than that. So I am looking forward to this. I may pick up more Abby Jimenez in the future, go to her backlog, but I'm definitely gonna read this one this year, for sure, 100%. And I think, did I mention this? It comes out April 1st, 2025. Continuing on to books that I'm looking forward to from authors I've read this year already. This one made it into my top 10 for 2024. Well, it's still sitting right next to me. It is the sequel to Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan, and that is All Hail Chaos. And it's slotted to come out September 16th of 2025, which I cannot wait. We don't have any kind of synopsis on this, but I'm assuming that we're going to move into like the second book of this fictional series that our fictional characters are in. I've given a synopsis on this before, but we have a girl who gets dropped into what I would consider like a darker version of ACOTAR, but like less fairies. Just like a romantasy kind of situation, but she gets dropped into it basically with the goal of getting something from this world that will allow her to heal, because she is unfortunately dying from terminal cancer. And so she is wanting to succeed in getting this item and be able to get back to her world. But we left off in a very interesting place here at the end of this novel, and so I'm very much looking forward to picking up the second one. There were some very interesting side character stories that I'm looking forward to picking up with, and I just can't wait to see like how crazy the second novel gets, because it's literally all hail chaos. It's gonna be a good time, guaranteed. Another one that I feel like is going to be on many folks' most anticipated for 2025 is the third book in the Emily Wilde series, and that's Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. That is expected to come out in February 11th, and I'm assuming we're picking up where we kind of left off in the last book. So I'm curious how we're going to round this out, if this is going to be just a trilogy or if there's going to be more from Emily Wilde's. I don't know. I feel like this is just a trilogy, but I'm really looking forward to it and picking up with Emily and Wendell again. Lots of fun. Oh shoot. Dun, 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 dun. Are we halfway done? I think we're like halfway done. Next book. Oh yes, this is a romance. Look at me, cozy mystery romance. Picked her, excited. So this is She Doesn't Have a Clue by Jenny Elder Moke. I do believe this was on that Goodreads list as well. This does come out in January 21st. And it is a debut. The high-end wedding, private island off the coast of Seattle. And I don't know, it was giving like murder, mystery, and a castle vibes with romance, and that sounded like fun. And that is pretty much the reason I chose this. This is another book I've seen on multiple most anticipated of 2025 list, and so I decided to go ahead and put it on my list. It is also blurred by George R.R. Martin, so that just made me a little more intrigued. Also, noted as like sci-fi fantasy. So I am interested in that. Again, trying to bolster our sci-fi. And this is Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. So this follows the life of Zelu, and it's really, I don't know, it doesn't give much. It just says it's like a science fiction drama about androids and AI after the extinction of humanity. Oh, she writes a book. Oh! She's writing a book and the lines begin to blur. Look at me figuring out these books as we're going. I don't know, it sounds interesting. Again, I kind of just threw it on there. And a lot of people seem to want to read it, and I'm kind of interested. So I want to be part of the girls too. And that comes out with January 14th of 2025. This book I picked because I am doing my challenge to read a classic written by a woman every month this year. And so I am going to actually be reading Little Women in January. So I put The Other March Sisters by Linda Epstein, Ali Melaneko, and Liz Parker. And so it's like, I think companions, they're like each writing different tales for the other March sisters that didn't get as much emphasis in the books. If you hear fireworks, I'm so sorry. So I thought that might be fun to pick up after I've actually read Little Women, even though I've seen multiple adaptations. I've never read the book. So I'm looking forward to checking this out after I've actually read it and see if I like it. It comes out February 25th of 2025. The next one is kind of going along with the murder mystery themes I've been having, where we've got like an older female character, and that is Murder by Memory by Olivia Waite, and narrated, I guess I picked the audiobook version of this, by Blair Baker, but it's like a memory called Empire Meets Miss Marple, and a cozy spaceborne mystery. And I don't know, it sounds like something I haven't read a lot of. It's sci-fi cozy mystery, so that sounded intriguing to me, not something I've read before, and I figured it was worth a listen or a read, depending on how, maybe I want to listen to it because that's how I pulled it up. But this is expected to come out in March of 2025. So yes, it's Band Together, Our Fight for Readers' Rights by Ashley Hope Perez, Debbie Fong, Ellen K. Arnold, and it seems like there might be some more contributors on there too. This is an YA anthology that spotlights the transformative power of books while equipping teams to fight for the freedom to read. Featuring the voices of 15 diverse award-winning authors and illustrators, books are disappearing from shelves across the country. What does that mean? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't like this whole banned book thing, and I was just intrigued. And now that it's an anthology, I don't read a lot of anthologies, so I'm curious to check it out. Really should read these some more. But that's on my list. It's coming out March 4th, 2025. This is actually nonfiction. This is Bad Law, 10 Popular Laws That Are Ruining America by Mistel. And this sounds like something I would like because I do listen to the podcast Strict Scrutiny, which talks a lot about like constitutional laws and different things that are coming up in the Supreme Court's docket, and this sounds like something that they would read, and I just thought it sounded interesting, so I definitely want to pick it up. It is set to come out, wait, is it already out? No, when's it set to come out? March 25th, 2025. Set to come out March 25th, 2025. This one is another nonfiction that's actually nonfiction. Trust. And that's The Eyes of Gaza by Celestia Aliquad. And I do believe she is the recent graduate student who was known for her social media post. And I want to read her memoir. This comes out April 17th, 2025. So I'm looking forward to picking it up and supporting her. Next book on our list is a historical fiction, and it's called The Eights by Joanna Miller, and it basically follows 8 women during after World War One, during World War One? Yeah, after World War One, and they're starting to allow women to go into university, and so they're like the first 8 university women who are going to Oxford. university, and it's kind of about their bonds and the struggles that they have, and like, you know, a pretty patriarchal institution and how it's like slowly changing, and kind of that weird in-between that they would have been in this time period. And that sounded intriguing to me. I do really enjoy books that focus on women's relationships, so I wanted to pick this one up. This one is expected to come out March 27th, 2025. Another one that is an additional one in our series, where I just picked up the second one and haven't read yet, but I'm already telling you I'm excited for this one. It is The Last Chance to Save the World by Beth Revis. This is a sci-fi trilogy. It is short. They're each very short books, like under 200 pages, and I'm not going to read it because I don't want to ruin the second one that I have on my shelf currently and just picked up. But it's set to come out in April of 2025, so I'm going to definitely read that one very soon, so I can go ahead and pick this one up and finish the books, because I really, really enjoy the first one. So I am hoping that that continues with the second one into this third and final novel. Another book, this seems to be a companion of novel of sorts. So this is The Geographer's Map to Romance, which is the companion novel, I believe, to The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, which I read a little later this, like a couple months ago, and enjoyed it. The first one was like enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers situation. This one seems to be a Grumpy Sunshine. Okay, Grumpy Sunshine convenience romance. That's right. Yeah, it sounds fun. Here we have a young adult, and that's The Floating World. It's expected to come out April 29th, 2025, and it is a Final Fantasy meets Shadow and Bone romantic fantasy reimagining of the Korean legend of Celestial Maidens. And I love reimaginings of East Asian folklore. I have a really good time with it. Like, a lot of the Monkey King reimaginings are really fun for me, and this just kind of feels like it might be my vibe, so I'm willing to give it a chance. I think the book that I actually read from Axio was not a fantasy, so I'm curious to read a fantasy from them. But, oh wait, why is this saying expected to be published April 29th, 2025, but now it's saying expected publication May 13th, 2025? And I know Goodreads, what are we telling me? Either way, coming out in the second quarter of this year, and I want to give it a try. Not a lot of ways that I want to give it a try, but this one kind of sounds like it's my vibe, so I'm hoping it'll be my vibe and it will read well enough that I'll enjoy it. Moving into, we're looking at a fantasy. This is The Mercy Makers by Tessa Gratton. Heretic must decide between the pursuit of forbidden magic or the ecstasy of forbidden love. Either way, her choice will upend the world and the start of a sweeping romantic epic fantasy trilogy. Okay, so this, I am hoping, is a fantasy romance, not a romantasy. They're not putting it as romantasy. They put it fantasy, adult, science fiction, fantasy, queer, LGBTQ, high fantasy, fantasy romance. Fantasy romance is at the end. So I'm hoping that means that it's going to be more fantasy than romance, and I'm not putting a romantasy on my list. But I'm curious. She has a chance. She's gotta, like, she's trying to save her dad, but in the way, she's got to basically convince the emperor to fall in love with her so she can save her dad. But this might be kind of hard and they might fall in love, which sounds interesting and compelling and could be great if it's done right. So I'm willing to give it a chance as long as this is fantasy first. Let's hope. I will see. This one might be like a we'll see, because it comes out June 17th, 2025. So I'm sure I'll hear a little bit more about it and then can make a good decision on whether or not this is actually romantasy and not fantasy. So we shall see. But it sounded good, so I'm putting it on here. But there is that tentative asterisk that if it is romantasy, we may take it off this list. Going a little bit more into the fantasy element, I thought this sounded really interesting. It's the 6 Wild Crowns, and it's like a fantasy sapphic reimagining of the wives of Henry VIII. I'm curious. So I'm gonna pick, it looks like there might be 6 because it says Queens of Elben #1. So I'm wondering if there will be 6 for each queen or not. I'm not sure, but it's expected to come out June 10th, 2025, and it sounds really interesting. So it says perfect for fans of the Priory of the Orange Tree, which I'm not read, and House of the Dragon, which I love. So we shall see. Sounds very interesting, very intriguing. I was like, it's enough to make me want to pick it up. I do love a little Tudor offshoots. Continuing on, we are really getting into the fantasy now. We're really getting knee deep here, where I stopped trying to find genres that are outside of my comfort zone. The Princess Kills Monsters, The Misadventures of a Fairy Tale Stepsister by Rye Herman. So this one is a retelling of the Grimm Brothers fairy tales, The 12 Huntsmen, which I'm not familiar with, but I do love a fairy tale retelling. And it just sounds interesting. There's like, she's clearly not as equipped as her stepsisters and kind of gets in a bind and doesn't want to have to be rescued by them all the time. And now she's being commanded to marry a king that she's never met. And it just seems like there's antics, queer romances. Apparently she's attracted to one of the huntsmen and her husband's sister. I don't know. It seems silly and fun, and I love a silly, fun fantasy. So I thought this one sounds like fun. I love this cover. Let's go ahead and put it on here. This comes out June 17th, 2025. Seems like the fantasies really want to come out in the summer. This is another book where I've actually not read the first book that came out from this author. So this is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst, who wrote The Spell Shop, which I do have on my shelves and I do intend on reading, and I do think I will like. So I'm putting The Enchanted Greenhouse on my list as well because it seems to have the same fantasy, cozy, mystery, romance kind of vibe. I know they put this in romantasy. From what I've heard of The Spell Shop, it's more like cozy fantasy than romantasy. And if that's true, then I think I will also like The Enchanted Greenhouse. So I'm going to put it on this list. It comes out July 15th, 2025. So hopefully I will have read The Spell Shop by then, since it's literally on my shelf. We have 2 left. And these are both by authors that I have read, which is good. The first one is the Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree. So this is considered the second in the Legend Latte series. So we have the prequel, Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I still need to read. And this one is following a character from Bookshops and Bone Dust, but is after the Legends and Latte stories. And so it seems to be a little bit more fantasy heavy, a little less cozy than Legends and Lattes, which I've heard is the same for Bookshops and Bone Dust. But I will still pick this up. It's not coming out till November 11th, 2025. But I will pick this up. Ratings, not looking so great with the first 6 reviews. So we'll see. This seems to be all over the map on it. So we shall see. But I am intending on picking it up. And our final book on my 30 most anticipated 2025 releases is The Late Night Witches by Orly Wallace. I enjoyed the Evanfall. No, not Evanfall. What is it? It is Evanfall. Look at me. So this author, I've read the first 2 books in her Evanfall Witches Bed and Breakfast mystery series, which I was really sad because I liked the first one, but I loved the second one and loved where we were going with the story and was excited for it, and then found out it wasn't being picked up. But now I guess enough people were like, no, we love it, we want to read it, that it is being picked up for a 3rd book, so I'm very excited for that. But that is, she is not releasing right now. What she is releasing is The Late Night Witches, and we have a main character named Cassie, she's got an absent husband, 3 unruly kids, and a wild younger sister, and she finds out that a vampire arrives in town and that her family is a legacy of witches and they were working to rid this island of vampires, and so now she has to figure out how to either get rid of them or let them win. And so she is trying to figure out how to fight this vampire. And I don't know, it sounds cute. I'm willing to try it. I want to support her, especially as I wait for the next in the Evanfall Witches series. So I'm excited to pick up a different series from her. I don't know if this will be a one-off or if this is going to be a continuation, but I'm interested in checking it out. Comes out August 19th of this year, and so I think it'll be a good one to pick up and read in the month of October as we head into fall, because it does take place in October. So maybe I will pick this as my solstice reading, my solstice book club book for October, because it will be in season. So I'm looking forward to that. I am out of water, but we have gone through my 30 most anticipated books for 2025, and I am going to wrap it up here because, like I said, it is New Year's Eve and we are gonna go get dinner and chill out. But I am super excited for this year. I've got a lot of reading plans, got a lot of things going on. If you have any recommendations of books that you think I'll like based off of these, feel free to drop them down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stick around for more Bookish Nerds content, feel free to subscribe. I upload every Wednesdays and most Sundays. And until next time, I hope you read a good book. I hope you find some joy. And most importantly, I hope you do something to make the world a better place. And I'll see you in my next one. My battery's dying. Bye!